Hello YouTube, welcome to Fuel. I'm Peter Davis and today we're going to be changing an inner tube. So you got a flat tyre. We're going to show you how to take the wheel off, get the tyre off, get the inner tube out, check for where the puncture is, check the tyre for what's causing the puncture, get the tyre back on the bike, get a new inner tube into that tyre, put it all together, put it back on the bike. Simple. So let's get to it. Now, road cyclists will generally say you're forbidden to put your bicycle on its saddle and bars, but because I've got to get both wheels off, I'm going to have to do that at some point, so please excuse me. Moving to the front, we're going to be taking off the front wheel. We're going to be just undoing the quick release, and we're going to undo a little bit. You don't really need to turn that too much. Pull the quick release down and drop your wheel out. Simple, very easy. Now, the hard part is your rear wheel. Just to show you, this bike doesn't actually have a rear brake, but if it did, one thing you might like to do to get the front wheel or the rear wheel off a bit easier is to deflate the tyre. If there's no lip on the bottom, the wheel will fall straight out. Undo the quick release, lift up the back end of the bike and knock it down, and the wheel will come out. I'm about to break the road cyclist code. I'm going to turn the bike upside down and just put it over here in the corner. The reason being, I don't want the chain to get all over the floor. I don't want the floor to mess with my chain link. All right, this is the wheel with the puncture. We need to find out why there's a puncture, where it is, and what we can do about it. What we're going to need is the help of these tyre levers. So to work with the tyre levers, they have these little hooks on the back there. Those hook around the spokes, like so. You've got two of them. One is going to be prying open and removing the tyre, and the other one is going to be hooking the tyre lever in position. I like to work from where the nozzle is for your Presta valve. You're going to get one tyre lever in just underneath here. You can see the tape of the tyre there. I'm going to push it down, and if I do this, it's no good, okay? I can't grab it, no good. You got to find somewhere you can just grab underneath. Just push it in, don't worry too much. Pull it in and boom, there you go. And I'm going to grab a spoke with the back end. Now, I'm going to get my second tyre lever here. I'm going to do the same thing, but now things are much tighter because you've already got some of the tyre out. I'm going to push in, okay, pull up, boom. And now you have a section of tyre outside the rim. Push in your second tyre lever, move it across, and it should be as easy as that to take off one side of your tyre from the rim. Now we can leave the tyre on the rim if we need to on one side and just pull out the inner tube. So just grabbing the inner tube, not from this nozzle spike here for the Presta, for the air to go in. I'm just going to grab it from the other side because it's easy, pull it out, and there you go, until we get to the nozzle. Taking off the dust cap. If you have a ring, you'll also want to undo the ring so that the nozzle can move freely. You can see here where the nozzle is going through the wheel. Pull it out. And your tyre, you can check for anything like a thorn or some glass or a shard that might have caused your puncture. So now we've got our inner tube and it's looking pretty deflated. We can just have a quick look around and we might be able to spot what the problem is. And on this particular tube, yes, a repair has been attempted and it hasn't worked. So yeah, it's come up at the edge there. Oh look, there it is. There is a hole. There is a hole right there. We don't even need to search for it. But I'm going to show you in depth how to find your hole. What if the hole you have isn't as obvious as this one? If the hole is incredibly small, a super slow puncture, you're going to need to use some water. There are a couple of different things you can do with water. I'm going to use plain water first of all. So I'm going to pump this up, this inner tube. We're going to put the tube underwater. Okay, well that's obviously where the hole is. let me just show you what happens. If there isn't a puncture on the section, absolutely nothing happens. No holes, no bubbles, nothing. And then we get to the bit with the hole and you got some bubbles. You know there's a problem and you're going to have to address it. It's right there. If you're having no luck with the water and dunking, what you can do is find some soapy water or a little bit of soap. Maybe that's a bit easier. So I'm going to dip my hands in this soapy water, put it on the tyre, and you can see that the bubbles start to form. So it's very obvious. It's a great visual alert and it lets you know exactly where it is. Basically, this inner tube with the huge hole is trash. I've got this inner tube. Let me see if this is working, if it's got any punctures, and I'm going to use the same techniques to find out. I'm going to pop in some pressure. I'm going to get it to about 1 psi. So I'm going to take the nozzle off there, close it up, and it's staying inflated, which is great. But we're going to use some techniques that we used previously on the broken tube just to check if there are any problems or not, because this is also a used tube. Another thing you can check is if the nozzle is leaking. If you see any bubbles coming out, you've got bubbles on the surface there, you can get rid of them. No, nothing going on there. And just keep pushing the tube all the way through. Try and get a flat surface. You see a bubble like that? Get rid of that. Okay. And so on and so forth until you get all the way around the tube. If that's the case, then you don't need to try the soap trick. Now we're going to take off the tyre and inspect it. So here we go, just pull it off. So let's just look through this tyre here to see if there are any issues at all. Can't really feel anything on the inside, seems okay. If you feel like a thorn or something like that, we should find it and take it out. Now, we've got our tyre, we've got our rim, we've got our inner tube. We need to put this all back together. First of all, find out the direction of your wheel. So the quick release lever is on the left-hand side of the bike, and the bit here, which is on the other side, is the chain side of the bike. So we know our direction. That is forward, that's backwards. So we're going to find the direction of our tyre. The direction is kind of pointing that way forwards, the arrows, essentially. And I'm looking at my other wheel over there. The Pirelli word is by the Presta valve. Just going to start from the top here and push it all the way across. Get my fingers in, holding this section in place so it doesn't move. And get as far as I can before it gets tough. Now it's getting tougher. Keep pushing it on with your fingers. Boom. One side is done. This is a good time to reposition your tyre with the logos if you need to. Press the valve here, logo was down there. If you did get a new tube and it's not inflated at all, this makes it very difficult to put it into the wheel. So you're putting it in this way, pushing it in, and it's getting folded up. It's going to unbalance your wheel. So all the way around, it's all folded up in different ways, and it doesn't stay in position because there's no air inside. It's very, very tricky. So a top tip would be to give your inner tube a little bit of pressure before you throw it back into the wheel. So you're going to undo the Presta valve, put on the pump and pop up the lever. Okay, we're connected. I'm going to pump a couple of times. 2 and 3, just nice. We don't want to do too much because if you have too much, it won't fit in the tyre. It doesn't matter which way it goes, left or right, it's universal, not an issue. Pop it in down there. Okay, and then push it all the way in, left and right. I'm just going to move it around. If there's a little crinkle down here, like this, you want to lengthen that out by pulling it left and right until it fits in nicely. And you can move that all the way around. I'm going to use this little area here where the nozzle is. I'm going to hold it down, just push in the tyre a little bit, turn my tyre lever this way around, and so flat side is here, and then push it in and around, all the way around. When you get to this section here, you want to be careful not to pinch your inner tube. If it's too heavily inflated, it's going to pinch and catch, and then you're going to have to do the whole process again. So you can just grab a whole section with your tire lever. You can even see the inner tube just on top there, almost pinching. And then here, one more. Put a thumb there, boom, done. No stress, it should be easy. If you're forcing it on, there's a problem. We need to see if we can inflate it. If you have your little metal screw thing, what it's going to do is it's going to stop the Presto valve from moving into the tire and making it easier to pump it up. If you don't have the little metal ring, is to just push down on the top, undo the valve, put your pump on, push it together, one hand, pull the lever down with the other hand, and there you go, pump away. Here it says 110 PSI, 7.7 bar. Now I've pumped on my inner tube to 110 PSI, I can remove the lever. And that beautiful sound means you're ready to roll after you've done up your Presto valve. One thing to check for is how balanced your tire is. Okay, if you spin the wheel, you can see that there's actually pretty good balance. There's no wobbling on the left and right, which means the inner tube has been installed very nicely. Once you're done there, pop on your dust cap and you're done. Now that you've successfully fixed your puncture, it's time to get the wheels back on. We're going to start with the rear wheel first, as it's the most difficult, and I'm going to show you both with the bike upside down and the bike the correct way up. First things first, get the cassette on the same side as the chain. We're now going to lift up the rear of the mech. What that's going to do is give us some space. The axle of the wheel and the quick release has to then go into the space between the chain. I'm going to pop the wheel in, and once it gets in, then it's going to get to the dropouts. Now with my thumbs, I'm going to push the axle in and bang it down a little bit, and I can see that it's seated perfectly in the dropout. I haven't done the quick release up yet, but I can pedal and it should go around reasonably well. After that's all done, make sure there's a bit of tension on the quick release. So there's tension around halfway through, and then push it down. Now I'm going to show you the same thing, but the other way up. I'm going to roll the rear wheel in, I'm going to look for the axle, and I'm going to put the axle in between the chain. I'm going to pop it down, and on this section here it gets tight, so I can just push the rear mech a bit, pull back the axle, and boom. If you see here, my axle isn't quite in the slot. Okay, so I'm going to put my chest onto my saddle, okay, and I'm just going to push down. And there you go, the wheel is firmly in its stay, and I'm going to tighten that up. And again, to check, just pedal with your cranks and see how things go. Perfect. Now it's time for the front wheel. So at whichever side the chain is on, this lever should be on the other side. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to roll it in between the wheel. I'm going to pop it down. Okay, make sure it's in the stay that side. It's not in the stay this side, so it's going to reposition. And here, wiggle a little bit. Now the front wheel axle is seated in the stay. Once again, the tightening of the quick release. So I'm going to tighten this up until we get tension about halfway through, and then we're just going to pop that up. Front wheel's in. There you go, guys. We've changed the punctured inner tube, and we've got a working bike. Fixed today, ready to ride tomorrow. Let us know in the comments down below if there's anything else you'd like to know about with regards to bicycles or bicycle maintenance. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Be safe, be good, and get fueled. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And be sure to check out some of the other videos we've got over here. Maybe that one, or this one. Remember, get fueled.